On a parlé finance. Parmi les options qui s'ouvrent, effectivement, se pose la question du partage. Alors, je rappelle le hashtag les enjeux pour, là aussi, partager sur les plateformes, sur la plateforme sociale. Pour cette séquence, effectivement, Marc le disait en introduction, on a fait venir un expert des États-Unis, Jeremiah Owyang. L'idée étant effectivement qu'il est après des années passées dans le conseil, dans l'analyse, notamment chez Forrester, il a créé une entité, Crowd Companies, qui a vocation à justement conseiller les entreprises dans le domaine de cette transformation numérique et notamment avec le volet du partage. I'm very pleased to welcome on stage Jeremiah, if he's around. Oh, nice to see you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Wonderful.
Please welcome in Paris for that presentation, and we are very proud to welcome you. And then the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm Jeremiah Owyang, the founder of Crowd Companies. I'm based in Silicon Valley. And I'm very excited to share with you about the new collaborative economy. And the title of this speech is, Sharing is the New Buying. And for all of us focused on disruption in e-commerce, I'm here to tell you about another big trend that is coming our ways, just as we are getting comfortable with social media. You've probably seen on the cover of magazines and newspapers all over the world about the sharing economy, here on the cover of The Economist. And you might have seen on the cover of Forbes, Brian Chesky, his about 3-year-old company, Airbnb, books over 1 million rooms per month, and they don't own a single bed, bath, or bathroom. He's worth $1.25 billion. His company is $10 billion. These companies went from 0 to 100 miles per hour in just about 2 or 3 years. And it's really about peer-to-peer commerce. Peer-to-peer commerce. All of us here in this room are focused on B2C commerce. Well, within 3 years, we've seen the fast rise of peer-to-peer commerce, and it's coming very quickly. Before we talk about the future, let's talk about the past. These 3 graphics represent the last 20 years of e-commerce. Who created a website? Raise your hand in this room in 1994. Did anybody create a website? Early adopters here. Only a few hands. And if you remember back to those days, you had to know HTML, JavaScript, maybe Photoshop, home site Dreamweaver, you had to have FTP, and a server. It wasn't easy to create a website, but if you did, and this graphic shows you in the internet era, you were very powerful. You could control the media and the message to whoever was listening. That was 20 years ago. In 2004, 10 years ago, a young gentleman named Mark Zuckerberg created a website that anybody could publish their thoughts and ideas, and you didn't need technical capability. Frankly, you don't need even communication skills, as we see from some people that post, that you can actually make your ideas available to anybody. And in the social media age, people are creating media, and people are sharing media, creating and sharing media. Fast forward to today. The next phase, people are using similar technologies, mobile devices, applications, the Internet of Things, mobile payment platforms, and even new technologies that make it easy to create, like 3D printers. People today are creating products and sharing what they already have, instead of buying them from e-commerce companies. Let me repeat that. In this phase, people are creating their own products, which is called the maker movement, and they're sharing what they already have with their peers instead of buying it in the sharing economy. And collectively, we can call this movement the collaborative economy age, and we are here right now. So this begs a very damning question. What role do corporations play when people get what they need from each other? Well, the good news, just as we've helped many corporations adopt the internet 20 years ago and then social media over the last 10 years, we will also help corporations be part of this new movement. And I'd like to define this as a collaborative economy. And the working definition is an economic model where creation, ownership, and access are shared between not just the people, but also corporations. This movement, which is triggered by societal reasons of sustainability, population density, the economic factors in the world which triggered a recession and caused Occupy, and the ample availability of technology have made this movement be very powerful for the people. This is about peer-to-peer. But I'm taking a firm stand that corporations have a place in this market as well. And the association I launched, Crowd Companies, 7 months old, there's 35 Fortune 500 companies. I heard mentions of Walmart, they're one of the founding members. So corporations have a place in this collaborative economy. To bring this to life, I like to use a metaphor. And you'll be very pleased that Fevad has created a printout of the collaborative economy, Honeycomb, which will be distributed to you in your packets as you leave today. That's a printout of what we're going to go over today. In nature, honeycombs are an amazing structure. They're both resilient and efficient. They're resilient because you can put a lot of weight on a honeycomb, and they won't collapse because the weight is distributed amongst the cells beneath it. Secondly, they're very efficient. Unlike a pattern of circles or squares, circles, they actually leave little spaces between them. Honeycomb is nature's perfect geographical design. There's no wasted space. Look at these hexes here. They all fit interlocking. So honeycombs are both resilient and efficient. And that's the model that we're seeing in this new collaborative economy. And I'd like to introduce this framework, and we will go through it today. And I will show you examples of what startups, peer-to-peer, are doing, and then also what corporations are doing to be part of this. So the collaborative economy, Honeycomb, in the center of it is the people. And the term consumer is actually not a good use of a term in this new market. Why? They're not consuming. Instead, where they're making things. We heard about 3D printing 2 sessions ago. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was talking about crowdfunding. People are funding their own projects. And people are turning their own cars into taxis like UberX and Uber Pop here in Paris. And they're turning their own homes into hotels on Airbnb. So the term consumer is an antiquated term that does not fit this market. Just think about 10 years ago in social media. There was a big uproar. Don't call them the audience. In social media, the people are creating the content as well. So we had to shift our mind from audience to media, the people, citizens media. And now it's happening again. So the term we can use is, these are empowered people. They're empowered to get what they need from each other. They can fund it, design it, build it, and share it without corporations. This is the most revolutionary change we've seen in business. The people known as customers are now like competitors. They get what they need from each other. Okay, let's bring it to life. What I'm going to do is walk through the 6 industries that we see that are being disrupted today. And there's 2 more coming, which I'll share at a future speech, which I believe is energy and education is next. But today we will focus on goods, food, services, transportation, physical space, and money. People are creating these things on their own, or they're sharing what they already have and bypassing traditional e-commerce. Let's start with physical goods. And inside of the Honeycomb, there are distinct classes. Very briefly, one of them is the maker movement, where people are creating their own things. Maybe you've heard of Quirky or Etsy. where people create their own goods. And also there are loaner products out there. People can just rent things. For example, I have a 2-year-old daughter. Her toys are rented on Play. Why own those small toys? We don't need them in our house in another 2 years. Let's rent them on Play. And then also people are sharing what they already have, like on Etsy or other used goods marketplaces. Let's take a look. This new startup is called va-t-elle, based in San Francisco, where I am located. And this startup enables anybody to share what they have in their closets or in their garages instead of buying them from a store. The belief of the founder, Adam Warbuck and Andy Rubin, is that everything that we need in life is in our neighbors' closets and garages. We don't really, this is the largest retail store in the world, is things around us. How many people own a vacuum machine in our own flat, in our apartment? Everybody might have one. Why don't we figure out how to share it? So the way the app works is you take pictures of things that are idle in your house or your closet, and then you can trade them, barter, swap with other people who have other goods that you need, all on a mobile app. And there is no cost to sharing these items with each other. Here's the kicker. The founder of va-t-elle is the former chief strategy officer of Walmart. Next, IKEA. They created a campaign, a website, that encouraged people to share their used furniture with each other, rather than buying it anew. Now, why would a company do such a thing? Well, this behavior is already happening. And we have two choices, just like in social media. We can fight it, or we can lead it. I believe IKEA, which is an early adopter in this movement, was very savvy in order to do this. It shows that they have the capability to have their own furniture resold in a secondary market, suggesting that their products are becoming more durable. It also shows their commitment to sustainability, and it builds community around their own stores, increasing the opportunity for an upsell. IKEA launched their own online marketplace for their own customers to sell their own used furniture. It's happening anyway. The brand might as well lead it. What about the maker movement? We briefly heard people talking about in the future of evolution and then Darwinism that the 3D printers could significantly disrupt commerce as we know it. And I agree there is some truth to that. In this model, Finnish company Nokia saw this movement happening and released the 3D files called STL files and encouraged the crowd to build, print, and improve the accessories for digital phones. They created a platform for the makers to come closer to the Nokia brand and build products around them. Now, this model isn't actually that new. Most software companies have their own model like this. Apple has iTunes. The people build media and apps on them. IBM does the same thing too. So what we've seen in the software world is now replicating to the physical world. Companies are enabling their own customers to build their products alongside them, the empowered people. So that's goods, the first of the 6 segments. Let's take a look at food. There's one famous restaurant in America, and their motto is your neighborhood grill and bar. And that's what they dubbed themselves as. This is a place that you go to get local food. Well, I actually don't think that's quite right. We're seeing French startups like Cookening. My friend Cedric has launched a website where people's own home kitchens are now becoming restaurants. That's right. People can host folks over to their house, strangers, in the aspect of trust, using social networks and reputation data and e-commerce data to turn their own homes into restaurants. This is truly your neighborhood grill and bar. Cookening.com turns regular people into restaurateurs. So what are big brands doing about this? We've yet to see a major restaurant player move into this space. But we're starting to see how some retailers, one of the largest pharmaceutical retailers in San Francisco, Bay Area, and America, Walgreens partnered with TaskRabbit which is a crowd-based courier system who can deliver goods to anybody that they need. And this revolutionary new partnership that launched in December at the height of cold season, TaskRabbit's regular people, your neighbors, can deliver over-the-counter pharmaceuticals to your house. Now, this is a brilliant model in e-commerce because it's extending the retail value prop to be bedside manner. They've extended their value promise all the way to your house. Walgreens partnered with the crowd rather than be disrupted from it. Let's do the next one, services. There's both personal services and business services. You can hire people to help you deliver in your own groceries, and we're also seeing business services like Odesk and a variety of others that can help your company on demand from a crowd-based system of workers. Let's take a look at one example. Has anybody here heard of Studi? It's a French company where local people can deliver and run errands and be like your own couriers. They can do your personal tasks for you. I'm seeing hundreds of these websites all across the world emerge, where people who might be unemployed or who have extra time or they're not making enough money or they just like the fun of it to connect with other people, they're helping people at a local level and running errands for a variety of different prices. Now, what are corporations doing about this? We're seeing amazing companies. Coca-Cola, I want to disclose, is one of our members, produced a very innovative app, and they have created what is called Wanolo, and it's called Work Now Locally. And when you download this app, you can see if you have extra time and you're waiting for something to happen, it can find different tasks for you to do on behalf of Coca-Cola. That's right, Coke is turning their own customers into employees. Coke is turning their own customers into employees. And the way it works is this. I download the app. I can find a store around here that might need help stocking the shelves with Coca-Cola products. I accept the job. It encourages me to stretch out, make sure I'm safe. I go up and introduce myself to the store manager. Hey, I'm Jeremiah from Wanolo. The store manager takes me into the back and says, here's the pallet of Cokes. Here's the fridge in the front. Please stock it. You complete the job. You might take a picture. The boss approves it, and you get paid. For Coke, this means that their stores are properly faced and the product's already there, and they're only hiring somebody on an as-needed basis. You don't need to hire a full-time person. And it's done real time. This also fosters loyalty and engagement with their own customers who are now acting as employees. This is a win-win-win situation for all the parties involved. Coke is leading the way by tapping this new collaborative economy. We're also seeing new types of telecommunication services products be shared. We're talking about services, so why not telecom services? Meet Phone, F-O-N. This is a shareable wireless network that many people can share, and you can share it with other people. So this means that people are sharing their own utilities peer-to-peer. A number of European companies, SoftBank, KPN, and others are on this movement and are leading this charge. This behavior is already happening, so we might as well enable it. So that's services. Let's do transportation. 2 weeks ago, I heard there was an event here in Paris called the Escargot Protest. Did anybody hear about the taxi drivers? You didn't hear about it at all? Okay, good. This is happening across the globe. I see different cities reacting in different ways. And Uber Pop enables anybody to become a driver like a taxi. But it's not a taxi. It's like a friend that gives you a ride. So they've changed the definition on what it means. This movement is very difficult to stop because it's backed by online apps and mobile devices, which we all have. And it's important to note that the biggest investor of Uber is Google. Google is the largest investor in the collaborative economy. So if you want to fight this movement, you're fighting Google as an investor and technology from Facebook and Apple. You're fighting Silicon Valley technology. Instead, maybe it's better to lead it. Peugeot is. Meet the Mew program. Has anybody here a member? Where you have access to different cars, ride shares, buses, scooters, and other transportation. Shifting the value promise from just selling vehicles to instead the new notion of access over ownership. That's a quote from my good friend Lisa Gansky, who wrote the book The Mesh. The new trend, instead of selling for ownership, it's access over ownership. I just want access to things. I don't need to own a car. And I've seen a lot of these opportunities around the streets, car rentals, electric car rentals, and even across the street, you can rent a Ferrari for a few hours, but I think that's really for tourists. So Peugeot is leading it, and also Daimler has Car2Go, where there's cars situated around different locations, and you can get access to them. We've seen Toyota, BMW, even other cars in Italy are also deploying these programs. We're seeing that car companies are shifting their business model from just selling cars to making them available on demand. I had the opportunity to hear the GM of BMW Drive Now, which is based in San Francisco. It's a BMW 1 Series car available for rent on demand. And they have multiple lots throughout San Francisco. And he said, which I think was brilliant, in the future, cities are saturated with cars. We can't sell any more cars. So instead of selling 1,000 BMWs, we want to sell one BMW 1,000 times. Let's sell one BMW 1,000 times. Now let's take a look at space. People are sharing both their personal space as well as their own office space. You're probably familiar with Airbnb. I had a chance to spend time with Brian Chesky, the CEO. They have over 1 million rooms rented per month, a very fast clip. Their valuation is $10 billion, which is worth more than Hyatt hotels and worth more than Wyndham hotels. And they don't own a single property. How is that possible? In this peer-to-peer movement, people are sharing their own space with each other. And we're also seeing this happen in the business world. There's B2B aspects to all of this. So co-working can be available where a company has extra seats in their office. They can rent this out to other partners or other customers or other people that they might trust. And we've seen websites like Liquid Space, ShareDesk, Desk Near Me, and others emerge, where companies are also participating. Let's take a look at Airbnb. I grabbed this snapshot. Here's Airbnb locations available today in Paris. You can rent any of these flats or lofts. I'm headed to London tonight. We're going to be renting one in East London. And you can change the slider on how much you want to spend. Do you want the whole flat to yourself? Do you want to share a space? How many people are coming? You have lots of options to choose on the things that you might want. Now, we conducted research to find out, why do people do this? Is this just because they want to save money? No, it's not. It's actually about having a unique experience that you can't get at a standardized hotel. People want this new market because it's a unique, authentic, local, real experience. And sometimes people want to connect with real humans. So there's different reasons why people are coming to this movement. So Airbnb is happening, but hotels are not standing by idle. We're seeing a number of hotels deploy. One example that I wanted to bring today is Marriott. They've turned their own lobbies into co-working spots that you can rent per hour. And this is called WorkSpring. They have 2 new locations, one in Chicago and one in Seattle near Microsoft that I visited. And it's like a very modern, hip co-working spot that you can get with food and other items. It's not like your traditional boring business center. So hotels are reinventing their experience and their business models to suit this new peer-to-peer movement that's happening. Let's do the last hex. And this one is money. And we're seeing 3 things happen in this space. One is people are creating their own money, and that's called cryptocurrencies. Have you heard of Bitcoin? Secondly, we're seeing people crowdfund each other's products. And we already heard from Kiss Kiss Bank Bank, crowdfunding. And then we're also seeing the rise of Lending Club, peer-to-peer lending. Lending Club started in 2008 in the trough of the global recession. And it enables people to rent money and borrow money from each other instead of going to a bank. This is lendingclub.com. The last time I looked, they've done $4.3 billion of US trades peer-to-peer in just a few short weeks. I should also add, their biggest investor is Google. This movement is backed by Google. Lending Club bypasses banks. Let's take a look. Kickstarter, which is a popular crowdfunding platform, enabled people to fund their own smartwatch. Does anybody here have the Pebble? The Pebble watch? I see a few hands. This is a digital smartwatch that connects to your mobile phone, and it becomes a new interface on your watch. Now, the most amazing thing about this is the crowd built this product and took it to market before Apple, Samsung, or Google. The crowd beat Apple to market on a smartwatch. That is powerful. As a result, we're seeing corporations also enter the space. U-Haul, which is a rental company, you can rent different trucks, vans, loading devices, and storage. They launched their own crowdfunding platform called the U-Haul Investors Club, where regular people, investors, can own a steering wheel of a car or even tires. Now, why would U-Haul do this? Well, there's two main reasons. One is this is a way to get a better deal in a loan than from a bank, because U-Haul can set the rates. But perhaps the most important reason, and obviously if you're an investor, you get returns on a quarterly basis from the performance of that one vehicle. That's why people do it. But there's another reason why U-Haul does this, and I believe many corporations will launch their own crowdfunding platforms. It signals a need for a new product because people are prepaying for that product. But to me, the highest reason why a company should launch their own crowdfunding platform is this. Crowdfunding is the highest form of loyalty. The reason why crowdfunding is the highest form of loyalty is because it's shared destiny. Crowdfunding is shared destiny. So to bring it together and look at these two together, crowdfunding and the maker movement in that orange box of custom goods. That is the maker movement. The people are funding new products and people are building it. Collectively, this is the collaborative economy. You will receive the printout as you leave today. There's a number of startups. There's over 9,000 startups in this space, and the amount of funding is only increasing. I conducted research. We surveyed 90,000 people across 3 countries, US, Canada, and UK. Hopefully we'll move to other countries in the future. And we asked people, what was your adoption rate of these new behaviors in the last 12 months? And that's the dark bar here. You'll see goods, services, transportation, space, and money. We're missing food here because it wasn't ripe as a market. We didn't ask that question. I worked with Vision Critical, a research firm in Vancouver. And across the board, the average adoption rate is 7 to 9% for these new behaviors. For the traditional behaviors of eBay, like used goods, the adoption rate is around over 30%. So that shows what a mature market is. Now, we also ask people, forecast your behavior in the next 12 months. Now, obviously, we use language that they can understand. And the big finding is this, and this is the light bars. The behavior will double by the end of this year. So the finding is we are at 7 to 9% at the end of last year. By the end of 2014, the adoption rates will be around 12 to around 15%. This market is booming, and we're at the very start. This means for brands, e-commerce companies, get in now while it's on the move. I also took a frequency sample of how many corporations have deployed in this space, and the frequency is going up. I showed you 15 examples today. About half of them were corporations. There's a larger list out there, but corporations are absolutely adopting and moving into this market. You can get these resources. You'll have these slides. There's links to the report you can download, no cost, and a timeline of over 80 corporations that have deployed, and of course, this digital version of the Honeycomb graphic. Wow, that was a lot. I just said the world is about to change in a significant way. Let's close things down in 5 remaining final takeaways, and we'll go to lunch. Number 1, people are empowered to get what they need from each other. They have the technology. It means the crowd is becoming like a company, and they will bypass inefficient corporations. Don't worry. Corporations, just like the internet and social media, we will use these same tools and strategies. We will adopt them and we will lead it. But it won't be easy. To be part of this new market requires business model change. We have to create products that can be shared, like Daimler and Peugeot and Phone. And we have to allow the products to be shared on other marketplaces, even our used goods like IKEA. But it also means we can offer new services, upsell, repair, certification, membership models. Commerce as we know it won't sustain just as selling for consumption. And the good news is, if we be part of this new collaborative economy, companies are resilient because you're connected to this ecosystem. You're empowering your customers to be like your partners, like Coke. You're built to last, and you're profitable. Welcome to the collaborative economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremiah, for this 360-degree overview, which was quite useful to help us to think about that evolution.